How do I completely kill the feelings I still have for my first spouse, who is now my AP? I feel so ashamed. We haven't done anything physically yet, but we plan to, and I feel so disgusted with myself. I've confessed everything to BS, but they haven't said anything. They just said they had heard me, nothing else. But they've been so cold to me since then, and I totally deserve it because they had been so cordial with AP with all the co-parenting we've been doing together for almost 3 years now. So I understand if BS totally hates me now. But the main problem for me that I have to handle right now is that even after all my full confession and how disgusted I feel with myself, the feelings toward my ex still won't go away. I need suggestions on what to do to completely get rid of the feelings and go back to being completely faithful to my spouse. For better context, I got married to my first spouse, AP, when we were really young, 22 and 23. We already had a kid on the way before we got married, and we were so in love. Everyone thought we were the real deal until we had our baby 6 months later, and it all just went downhill from there. The feeling that we had missed the life we had ahead of us to be parents hit us hard. We had to take on more jobs to meet up without cost of living as new parents. It became hell. We ended becoming very mean to each other and finally settled for a divorce. My mom helped raise our child while I worked on getting my life back together. I went back to school to get a master's and got my dream job. AP packed their stuff and left town, but they always called my mom to check on our child and sent money, more than they were even obliged to. I got married to my BS 6 years after my first marriage. They're about 7 years older than me, and it's been a great marriage. They're wonderful to me. Their stepchild and our 3 kids together. I never for once thought I would do something like this to them, until my ex recently moved nearby to be closer to our child. They never got married again, and they weren't in any serious relationship either. The first time I casually asked why not, they made it seem like they never found someone worth getting married since our divorce, like they were still stuck in the past or something. I wish I never asked. What they said took me way back and made me realize that we never fell out of love. We were just young and tired as new parents, and we let that put a wedge between us. I felt a sudden sadness I'd never really felt before. I realized I had moved on with my life too fast. Between caring for my child, going back to school, and getting a job I loved, I never really stopped to grieve the loss of my first love. I had somehow convinced myself that I hated them, but I never did. I just repressed all my feelings successfully, and now they're back with a big bang. I couldn't do anything anymore without them popping in my head, even while in bed with BS. I started to relive all the good times with AP back then, even down to how good our sex was. And that's when I texted AP about my feelings, and they said they had been struggling with the same feelings since we started actively co-parenting. We went down memory lane together, and then we got into the habit of sexting and sharing inappropriate photos. This went on for almost 2 years, and we had started to seriously consider getting physical when BS found some of our messages and asked me about them. I've confessed everything, and the only thing BS said was, "Okay, I've heard all you said," but we haven't talked since then. They just ignore me when I ask to talk. So I've stopped asking. I'll wait till they're ready to talk about it. I know I sound very stupid when I say this isn't my biggest worry right now. My biggest worry is killing whatever feelings I have for my ex completely now, so I can move on to the next step of saving my marriage. How can I do this? Update 1. So BS and I finally spoke for a really long time today. They said they are willing to work on forgiving me since nothing physical had happened yet. But they don't want AP in our home anymore, and our co-parenting activities must be cut down significantly, but not too much for my first child to feel bad. They also said it would take a while for them to be able to look at me or even touch me again, knowing that I have serious feelings for another man. But they'll try to put up an act so the kids won't notice. They also said there'll be open marriage counseling once they can deal with some of the feelings they need to deal with personally. So no talk of divorce yet, and I'm truly thankful. Now, what I really need to work on now is cleansing my mind and then focus on saving my marriage. AP and I have stopped chatting completely, and I hardly ever see them now. They just wait outside in the car whenever they come to get the kid. I'm thankful for all your suggestions. More suggestions are welcome, please. Update 2. I never imagined I'd be back here with an update like this. but I feel like I'm losing my mind and I don't know where else to turn. Anybody remembers, me and betrayed spouse were in reconciliation. I was determined to make things right with my husband and rebuild our marriage. My husband has been distant but still willing to work through things, and we even started discussing marriage counseling. I had cut off all contact with my ex, AP, and was doing my best to focus on my family. I was truly committed to moving forward, but then everything fell apart again. A few days ago, my ex came to drop off our child at my place. I hadn't seen them in weeks, and even though I had been trying so hard to push my feelings aside, seeing them again brought everything rushing back. I should have just stayed strong and not let him home like husband had requested, but I didn't. We ended up getting physical while our child was in the den watching TV. I can't believe I let it happen. It was like I was on autopilot, completely ignoring everything I had been working towards. After it was over, I made him leave before my husband came home. The guilt hit me immediately. I was disgusted with myself for betraying my husband again, and even worse, doing it while our child was just a room away. The worst part of it all is that when I walked into the den afterward, my child looked me straight in the eye. He knew. I could see it in his eyes. The betrayal, the disgust. It was like he was looking right through me, and I've never felt so ashamed in my entire life. In that moment, I knew I had lost my son. Since then, I've been spiraling. I can't get that look out of my head, and I feel like I'm going crazy. I've barely slept, and I can't focus on anything. I know I've messed up so badly, and I'm terrified that I've ruined any chance of saving my marriage. I don't know what to do anymore, and the look in my child's eyes, it's haunting me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want to do whatever it takes to try to save my marriage and repair the damage I've done to my family. I'm desperate. I'm so scared I've lost everything. Final update. Yesterday was the day my marriage ended. I knew it had happened. Something ominous was in the air. When my husband sat me down with tears in his eyes and told me that I knew my life would never be the same. He knew everything. I didn't need to say anything. He had already made up his mind. He told me that it was best if I left the house and went to stay with my mom. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. We both cried, but I knew there was nothing I could say to change his mind. The look in his eyes was one of finality, and I knew it was too late to fix anything. I'm almost certain that our son told him what happened. I don't blame him for it. I can't. He was just a child caught in the middle of something terrible that I created. I betrayed not only my husband, but also the trust of my own child. The guilt is overwhelming, and I hate myself and my ex. I have to leave my kids with my husband. He wants me to leave them with me. I think it's for the best too, because my mom's place is not big enough. The thought of not seeing them every day, not being a part of their daily lives, is tearing me apart. For the first time, I wish I had never let my ex in that one day. Leaving my home and my family behind is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. This is my new life now, and the reality is frightening. Tomorrow, I'll be moving out, and it feels like the end of everything I've ever known. Maybe it really is. I dread my mom's reaction. She's always hated my first husband, said always that he's a sneaky bastard, and now I have to go to her, and I've proven her right. I'm not sure how she'll react, but I know it won't be good. I just hope she won't kick me out. I really won't have anywhere to go if she does. Looking back, I can see how I got here. My ex was like an addiction, something I knew was wrong but felt powerless to stop. I never stopped loving my husband, even during the affair, but I think it's a different kind of love than I had for my first husband. My relationship with my first husband was fire, but it sizzled and burned fast. With my second husband, my love was mellow, but he was my everything, my rock, my safe place. I loved the stability, the safety he provided me with, unlike my first husband. But in the end, I think my love for him was entirely different. I understand now that the affair was an illusion, a temporary escape that has cost me everything. I was chasing a fantasy, thinking that life would somehow be better with my ex, but all it's done is destroy the life I had. The hardest part was leaving the affair behind. It's worse than starting it because by that point, you've already lost your integrity, your reputation, and the trust of those who loved you. I spent so long caught up in the fog of the affair, convincing myself that it was what I wanted. But now that the fog has lifted, I see clearly what I've done. I've signed up for a life of regret, and I have no one to blame but myself. This is my reality now, and it's going to be a long, hard road to putting my life back together, if that's even possible. I'm not sure where to go from here, but I know I have to face the consequences of my actions and try to find a way forward, even if it feels impossible right now. Thank you to everyone who offered support and advice. I wish I had listened sooner. Now all I can do is try to rebuild what's left of my life and come to terms with what I've lost. This is a new life for me, and it's not one I'm looking forward to, but it's the one I've created.